Hi everyone, it's Lehman with Lace Covered Skies. I'm here today with a project that is going to be my first true project for my botanical journals, and it has been really fun just diving into all of these plants and botanicals and nature images. This is my design team project for Mixed Media Minnesota, and it's a fun one because it's kind of a culmination of a lot of things that I've been working on these last few weeks. So they're all right here. I'm working with 2 kits from Mixed Media Minnesota. I will have them linked down below. They are beautiful kits, so if you like anything you see here, go ahead and check the description box. But what I've done is I've brought out everything that I have printed from these kits. And this is going to be a video that shows you all the vast ways that digital kits can be used. And there are different ways. They add a lot of texture and a lot of interest. And I'm loving, I think I'm gonna go into these botanical journals with a lot more options because of all these different elements. So first and foremost, I have some of these digitals just printed onto cardstock. So this one, very bright and fresh. I'm excited to work with this one. This is what we're going to be focusing on today. This is probably one of my favorite images from their kit. I've printed it all kinds of ways, on paper, on fabric, on tissue paper, on napkin, anyway, on transparency. So there's that one. Here it is as tissue paper. We made decoupage paper or napkin, whichever you want to call it. This is how this can function as either decoupage or napkin, and it's just printed onto tissue paper. And then I have, let me go ahead and show you all of the stuff I have just printed on paper. I have this one, I have these, and I already used some of this. This is transparency paper, or it's not paper, but transparency film, I guess, that I've printed on, and we're going to be using that. And here I have some fabric. So this is layered printing. I did a video on this. I printed one of their digitals onto a vintage sheet. So I think it adds a lot of different layers and just kind of interesting things that you're not really sure what's going on. It's very collagey to me. I have this piece right here that I already started using. Again, there's layered printing. The daisies you see there are part of the vintage sheet that was originally there, and then I printed over it. I will link this video below in case you have not seen it. Here's another piece of fabric that was just plain cream fabric that I printed one of Mixed Media Minnesota's digitals onto. I love this image. It's kind of a background image. Same with this one. I love text on anything, text on the background of anything. And then I have this. So those were all the fabric pieces that I printed. Now I printed onto tissue paper. I printed this onto tissue paper. And then I printed this onto tissue paper. And then I printed this onto tissue paper, which is actually really right here. But out of these 3 that I printed, not out of them, but from all 3 of these, I made tissue washi tape. So this is also another video that I did, and it turns out beautiful as washi. So this one right here looks like this when it's turned into washi tape. And we're going to be using all of these elements. So this is just, it's 2 different digital kits. I picked the images I wanted to work with, but all I'm doing is working with these digitals from Mixed Media in Minnesota, but you can see there's so many different elements to choose from. Tape, paper, fabric, so you can really do a lot with digitals, and that's what I'm really loving right now, as I'm like kind of experimenting with different ways to use things. And I think this is a great way to use digitals. It's a great way to support Etsy sellers and small businesses and our fellow crafters who put so much work into their digital kits. I mean, this is like, I have a lot of washi tape, but I feel like these are just some of the most beautiful, and they're made from digital kits that our fellow crafters create. So I really love this. So this one is made from this paper right here. So it's kind of like you can curate your own set of things to craft with. Like you can almost make your own custom matching set of the things that that's going to go into the journal. So it kind of makes things very coordinated. And the best part is it's basically handmade. I mean, you're printing things yourself, you're deciding what to print and all of that. So this one, even though it's all different pieces, I turned it into washi tape as well. And what I've been liking about this type of image, these 2 are more like a background digital, but this is more of a focal point. So and because these are smaller, it's not like taking up a whole sheet, I have been loving fussy cutting this out and using these elements as stickers. So that's another cool way to use these. All right, but what we are going to be making today is a variation of a slotted card that I've done before. I will link the tutorial down below. I made a slotted card in one of my other projects because I wanted to use large cards or large pieces. So this is what I did with this. I don't think I printed this on paper, but this started out like that, and I decided to use half of it, so I cut it in half and I turned it into, there's a little specimen card right here, but it's part of the large card, the body of the card, and there's another pocket right here with the specimen little area. Behind it is one of the fabric pieces. I think it's this fabric here that I cut out, and it holds the card in place back there. And I cut this out and it's just going to slip back in. So it's kind of making it more interesting. I put a little pocket up here, and this pocket came from this sheet down here. It's this missing piece right here. I sewed it up here so a little card can go in there. But we're gonna make this today. So I wanted to work with this image right here. I think this is a beautiful image. I love these types of botanical images. It just looks so fresh and kind of like textbook, but still pretty. And I want to pair it with this. So we're going to be using the fabric version of it. I think I have that. Let's see. Okay, maybe I didn't print another fabric piece for that, but that's okay. I think it'll look cool with this as well. Actually, I think this kind of goes with this more. But what we are going to do is we are going to take another piece of cardstock. I am just going to use, if I can find it. Of course, when I start filming, everything just like scatters. Like they just like run away. Alright, I wasn't going to use this cardstock, but I think we will. Alright, so we are going to be making, oh here it is, I found it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is use this to put onto the back of this. And let me go ahead and tear it off of the pad. My schedule has been a lot busier lately, and I feel really scattered all the time. All right, so let's go ahead and cut that. And then I am going to just match this up in the back. I am currently finishing up my retro journals, and I will have a flip through soon. So I am excited about that. I feel like for me, it's really hard for me to finish projects. I mean, I do finish them. It's just kind of like the ending kind of gets dragged out kind of thing. All right, so we have that. Now what I'm going to do is cut a little slot down this way. And for some reason I used this to measure the length before, so I'm just going to use it to measure it again. Just going to start there and end about right there. And let me grab my cutting mat. And my ruler. Okay, so I have the two pieces stacked on top of each other, so it's really important that they stay nice and even. Yeah, I glued it together before, but I think it's better if I don't glue it yet. So I'm going to have to be really careful about keeping it stacked on top of each other. All right, so that's going to be our slot where things go through. Now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take out my Big Shot, and we are going to be cutting a hole, a square hole and a circular one. But I am going to, I have these hanging here, so I'm using like a rectangular one, and I'm gonna put it, center it where the slot is, so because I want it to be pretty even to make my life easier later. Actually, let me see how I did this. This ended up, I mean, this could slip down like this because I was originally going to put a different card in here, but I'm liking this one better. I was going to put this bird in here. So what do you, like if it was you guys, would you guys do the bird? And you can kind of see the bird looking in that direction. Or would you put its missing piece back? I'm kind of going with this for now, but let me know down in the comments what you guys would do. Because I'm not, I don't know, does the bird look good, or maybe another image that pops a little bit more? But either way, I'm centering it here. And let's roll this through. But actually, we are going to make a hole down here as well. So I am going to just, let's see if I can place this in a more interesting spot, because I want the leaf to kind of stay. So let's kind of go right there. And let's make our sandwich and roll it on through. And I'm just rolling it back this way because my wall is right there, so it couldn't come out. All right, let me see if okay, let's do that for now. And so this is what we have. We have this with the rectangular hole, and then this circular cutout right there. Then I am going to think about transparencies now. I am going to be using a clear piece, and it needs to fit right here. It's going to be covering up the rectangular hole. So I'm going to grab a marker, and I want it to be just a little bit bigger than so that I have room to sew around. Actually, this can be a little bit bigger. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut this way first. And if you've watched some of my slide mount my specimen card tutorials, you know that you do not need to be perfect because no one's going to see this transparency. You just want to make sure that it's at the right like it has to just cover the window, but it doesn't have to be perfectly even. All right. And then for this bottom hole right there, okay, let me go ahead and wipe off some of this marker, even though it's on the edge and it won't show. All right, we are going to use a different piece of transparency for this hole, and it's going to be the transparency with a little bit of writing on it. Let me make sure I'm not losing track of these pieces. All right, so it's gonna need to be enough to cover this. Sorry about that. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a piece of clear and a piece that's printed on, and I'm gonna lay it on top of each other so that I'm making sure that I cut it at the same size. Cut it to the same size. I don't know what it is about filming videos, but sometimes I like forget my words. It's kind of like words are coming out, but they're just kind of coming out the way they want to come out. All right. So what I'm going to do next is take a piece of transparency and put it over where I want it to eventually end up. So I'm making sure the top and the bottom are centered, as well as side to side, so I have enough room to sew around. And I'm just leaving it there, just in the correct spot. And then I have my pressed flowers over here, and I'm gonna choose one. And these are super delicate. Some of them are missing parts. I feel so bad for them. All right, I think I'm gonna go like that, or because I do need it to, let's put it right there. Okay, I think I like that. So that's gonna go there, but I need a small one for this one. So I'm gonna lay it exactly where I need it to be in the end, and I need to find a small flower because that's a small area. And I don't know if there is one. I think this will have to do. Yeah, I'm just going to cut off some of the stem, and it's sticking. go ahead and just put it right there, and this is going to go over the top. So what I've been using is this Tombow glue. And I just want to say that I found out about this glue a long time ago. I found out from I'm a Cool Mom, but she changed her name to Paper Terrace now. I've been following her channel for a very long time, and she recently, and you guys are going to know how far behind I am on my videos, but she recently gave me a shout out on her channel when she made washi tape. And she had been, I guess she watched one of my videos and she was inspired by that, and she gave me a shout out, so thank you so much. Yeah, it was just, I know a lot of you came from her, so thank you for coming over here and subscribing, and I hope my videos are helpful to you in some way. But thank you, Jessica. I love your channel. Lately I've been watching every video. She uses lots of botanicals and flowers, which is the exact mood I'm in right now. Alright, I think that's, actually I don't know if that's how I had it, but let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this one as well. So it's just kind of holding it in place until I can get to my sewing machine, because the sewing machine is what's going to truly hold it in place. It's not sewing over the flowers, but I'm going to be sewing the transparency sheets down to hold it in place and kind of support it. Alright, so I'm just going to press over it, and then I'm going to press over it over here as well. And I like to just kind of brush that off a little bit. Alright, so I'm loving the way this looks already. It's very, these flowers that I have really match with the digital, so that's really cool. I'm trying to find the piece that was cut out. Okay, so I am thinking that this is going to be what's in, yeah, I like that. That's what's going to go in there. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set these aside until I can get to my sewing machine, and I'll let you guys know what I do at that point. But we're going to continue work on here. I am going to go ahead and put a little pocket here maybe. This style is a little bit different, so I might not use this pocket, but let's go ahead and see. Let's just see how it looks with it. And I'm just loving this image right here. I kind of feel like this style of image is a little too romantic for this, so I don't think I want to use this here. But I really like the, I don't know how, I really like the, not utilitarian, but like just how this is not very girly. It's kind of more like a science book, but a pretty science book. So I don't want to put something that's too pretty with it, if that makes sense. But this might work because the green kind of ties into it, and the text kind of, let's experiment with this and audition it. I really like these little petals down there, so I don't want to cover that up. You know what? I think I'm not going to put a pocket in the front. I am just going to put a pocket in the back, and I think that's going to be enough interest. And I really want to pick an area that I'm happy with, which of course it would be right in the middle here. But I really like that. So I am going to, let's see, it needs to kind of reach almost the top. So it's going to be a pretty big piece. So it's going to be from here all the way down to here. I mean, it doesn't have to be that big, but I think I'm wanting it to be that big. And then this is going to go about there. So let's just tear it and see. Okay. All right. So this is going to go behind here. So that's how it's going to look. And then I'm just going to kind of show you guys how it's going to end up looking. That's going to go behind there. It's going to go behind there. I'm putting it in front, but, and then this card is going to slip in and out from here. So that's how it's going to end up. I think I'm going to really like this. When I saw this image, I knew I would love it. And I just really like it for some reason. But, so, I'm not going to take you guys to my sewing machine, but let me show you where the sew lines go, the sewing lines. So, you're going to let's go ahead and set it up. I'm going to put dots of glue so that when I go to sew it, it's not going to be too much of a hassle. I'm just going to go ahead and seal the edge. And I'm putting it on the very edge. This glue does dry clear. I've used it in the past, but I don't want it to come into the image. Like, I want to avoid that as much as possible. And that's going to go right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sandwich this over. Okay, this is confusing back here. I'm going to sandwich it over and just sew a line around, just around the pocket, kind of aiming where I think this goes. And if you feel comfortable, I would put dots of glue in the back to hold that in place and to hold this in place. And once you're done with that, you are going to do the same thing over here. So just put it back there and sew a circle. So if you look at this, you can see that I sewed around this little square, which is around the transparency back here. And I sewed a circle around here, around holding this transparency in. Now once those things are done, once this is sewn and this is sewn, you will need to take the piece of fabric and put it over this and just sew a line all around, but make sure you don't sew the opening closed. And that's what I did here. So I put the fabric over and just sewed all around. This fabric is a lot wider than this, but they're different sizes. So that's what I did, and this is what I ended up with. We're not doing this pocket for this one, but you could if you wanted to. And then I just took the cutout and I slipped it in here. So I will come back in the next video, I think. I'm not sure what my next video is, but I'm gonna come back and show you how this ended up looking. Now the video is getting kind of long. I was gonna kind of decorate this a little bit more. Maybe I can do something really quick. I wanted to put some of these stickers somewhere. Well, I'm gonna cut it out to make it a sticker, but I think this is like from right there. So I was thinking of just kind of collaging on this area. I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of trim this off. I am just doing this to kind of add a little bit of texture and just different layers so it looks interesting, but it doesn't really stand out. So I'm kind of semi-fussy cutting right now. And not making it exact. I think I'm just going to come up right here. And maybe just kind of add like a little bit right there. I have this piece of lace that I was thinking of putting on, and I like how this is darker than this. So that's another thing that I found. When you print on different mediums, like paper versus fabric, it comes out different, and that's what I really like about it. Okay, so let me just, I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Just in the corner right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this little bit down. I'm using this glue, but I would normally use Fabri-Tac for something like this or sew this down. I just don't like to use Fabri-Tac when I'm in my room. I kind of go where it's more ventilated, I guess. All right. I hope you guys can't hear my neighbors. All right, and I think I'm gonna add a little something in here. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit more narrow. And corner punch it. So let's cut it down a tiny bit. And I think I want to, where's that piece of tape? Right here. I'm just going to add a little hint of this tape. So let me go ahead and just trim it. And I think I'm just going to add it to the side like this. So and then I'm going to fold it over the edge and just kind of trim it up a tiny bit, just around that corner, and stick it in there. So that's what we have for this one. So there's a little journaling card in there. There's a journaling card right here. And I like how the fabric kind of shows through like that. But yeah, so there's a specimen right there, and there's a specimen right here. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. I'm really loving this paper, so I think I will be finishing up the other side of it, and I will show you guys at some point. But I hope this video was helpful and it gave you some ideas. If you liked it, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up down below. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos. And thank you so much for watching today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye everyone.